It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Presented by the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome. It is another edition of the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant unofficial 40 podcast. The entire crew back with you once again on a little bit of a milestone podcast for us today, guys. I don't know if you realize this, but it has been exactly 6 months since Choctaw Casino and Resort has been the title sponsor of the unofficial 40 podcast, which means you guys have gotten a podcast every week, even more than that, for the last 6 months.
Wow. Our biannual.
It's
is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. There's no celebration. I don't have any streamers or anything.
What are you supposed to do for the isn't there like something that you're supposed to do for like a year anniversary, 2-year anniversary?
It's like silver and
is there like a 6-month anniversary? You're supposed to get us like a pack of menthols and a box of condoms.
The first year is paper.
Paper what?
That's you do something creative with paper.
Oh God, Bob would know this stuff.
I did. I wrote a
like
story.
Paper mache?
I wrote a story about our first year of marriage, and Brittany loved it.
Okay.
Where did you publish it?
Nowhere.
Could have put it on the front page.
Wait, you wrote a story for her?
Yeah, Josh, did you not do that for Tiffany?
About our first year
Carrie,
of marriage.
Damn it, mute the audio on that. Scramble that. Tiffany doesn't need to know these things exist. No. Bob, damn it.
And then the second year is cotton, and she made me a pillow of all our important dates. So we've tried to follow it.
All right. And then what's the year? Or the 2-year?
Cutest. Just the cutest.
Cute AF.
Cute AF. That is correct.
After 1 year, the sex winds down, so I'm sure you have to start doing special stuff.
Bob, you have no idea how much that winds down. You
Oscar
don't even know what
Pistorius shot his girlfriend for a 3-year anniversary.
They weren't married.
No, they were just dating, I think.
She was a model. He killed her.
Yeah.
Cold blood.
Christina Vinecamp or something like that?
Yeah,
something like
right.
that.
And like there are models, and then they're like, she'd be gorgeous in any setting, and she's that girl. Like some models, I'm like, I get it. You could wear any clothes, and you're pretty, but like you're not my thing. That girl is pretty, literally, or beautiful in any setting. That was that's a bad deal.
She was.
Was. You're right. You're right.
Well, you know what? No one will shoot you if you go to Durant to the Choctaw Casino and Resort, our great sponsor. I want you guys to go out and support them. They've been fantastic for us here at the podcast. Because of them, a lot of great things are coming ahead. We only have a few more podcasts where Josh sounds like he's in a closet somewhere, and that will improve greatly. That's getting ready to happen. A lot of good things coming here in studio, too, to make the podcast better, which is always our goal, and that's thanks to the Choctaw Casino and Resort. Go check them out, ChoctawCasinos.com online. They've got a lot of great promotions going on every month, great concerts, great places for you to eat. Just really a great place for you to spend the weekend, a great hotel, and just have a great time. Just elevate your weekend, especially with no football going on. Go book it now, ChoctawCasinos.com in Durant at the Choctaw Casino and Resort. All right, guys, the NFL draft, I know it's kind of like with everything else. We're getting inundated. We're reaching the point of oversaturation with all the Kyler Murray talk, and certainly I think we've all talked about it, either on the message boards or on radio shows or whatever, just how ridiculous the Kyler Murray coverage has become. And today he finally went through the meat market. He finally walked around in his underwear, got measured. By the way, we had a debate, is it measured or measured? I could see Eddie being a measure guy.
No, I'm measured.
Are you measured?
Isn't it? That sounds like force majeure. Like that doesn't sound right at all.
Measured?
Yeah,
Measured.
it's got to be measured, right?
I don't know. I think it's usually what
Like you wouldn't have a
whatever comes
measured
out.
response.
Measured.
You'd have a measured response.
I would say measured response. Yes.
I think people
Yeah.
would like to make it measured, but sometimes it comes out measured.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
think
think
it's-
if you're from the north,
Yeah.
your accent.
It's measured is what you say
'Cause,
if you're from
like,
the north.
They
Measured.
like the people I know in Dayton would say trash instead of trash. It's weird.
Trash.
Whoa.
Well, it's like, you know.
Are they French?
At what point is it pop and what point is it soda? And when is it soda pop? Because I grew up with pop.
My
I
cousins
don't
that all
think I
live
ever
in
really said
Illinois
either.
say pop, I think. Right?
I think
don't know.
pop is more north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soda
Like,
is more south.
Did you guys not specify?
No, I called
drink-
everything Coke.
Yeah,
I think that's
didn't
what
drink
it's turned
I wanted
into.
to,
I want a
wanted
Coke.
a Dr. Pepper, but I wanted a Coke.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Can I get
see,
you
no.
like if Eddie and I are on the road and you know he's going to say, "Hey, you want a Coke or something?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
"Yeah,
I
give me
very rarely buy a Coke.
And I
like a
don't
regular
say
Coke.
yeah. I say yeah. Give me a cherry Coke or get me a Sprite.
Right.
I know when you
I
say,
think that's an Oklahoma thing.
"Do you want a Coke?"
Is that a Southern thing?
I think it might be because I only ever drink Dr. Pepper. Like I never really drank anything else. Sprite. Like, but I mean, as far as a drink like that, I drink Dr. Pepper. I would never in my life say, "Get me a Coke. I want a Dr. Pepper."
What would you say?
I would say, "Get me a Dr.
Give
Pepper."
me a Dr. Pepper.
So
that doesn't make any
and
sense
that's
to
the
me to
only
say Coke,
thing.
'cause Coke's a thing.
That's the only carbonated soda you drink is Dr. Pepper.
Or yeah.
You don't
yeah.
ever have like
and I don't really
A&W
drink
root
it
beer
anymore,
or
but yeah.
Sprite or
Like,
anything like that.
As a kid, I had a borderline problem with Dr. Pepper. I drank a ton of those things.
I know so many people like that. Like Eddie's a big Dr. Pepper guy. Like Gabe
Yep.
Eichert is a huge Dr. Pepper guy.
Yep.
I don't drink a whole lot of caffeine, though. I mean, I'll drink a Coke, but
Bullshit! Every day you come in here, you've got
no, I drink coffee like
you
it's
got
going
a
out of
huge
style.
coffee or an iced coffee.
Coffee, yes.
That's caffeine.
But,
caffeine.
but like,
Did that
no,
start
that's
with the
that's
radio,
not what I
Eddie?
meant. That's not what I meant. I meant I
No.
don't drink a lot of Coca-Cola.
He lived off of 5-hour energy for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
he's the first person I ever knew that consumed 5-hour
But used it,
energy.
yeah.
I drink
in-
coffee every
in
day,
bulk.
though. I drink coffee in bulk. I should have said, like, at my house, I don't have like a can of Coke or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
I'm one of those people, like, if I have a soda, I'm jittery. I shake. I can't. I'm real sensitive to sugar. So I don't drink coffee literally ever. I don't like it, even aside from it makes me jumpy. And sodas, like I said, I drank a lot as a kid, and I literally, as a kid, had a speech impediment, and we figured out it was because I drank so many damn Dr. Peppers. Like, the sugar, I would stick on words
So it was
real
the
hard.
stuttering.
Yeah, I had a stammer real bad. And literally, I went to like a speech pathologist. I went through this whole thing. And finally, one day, I came in and I think I did well or something. And she was like, "Did you change something today, something different?" And I think my mom was like, "Yeah, we didn't have any Dr. Peppers or something, so we drank a bunch of water." And they figured out it was just my sugar intake was way too high. And they took that out of my, like they cut down on my Dr. Peppers, and all of a sudden I could speak like a normal child again.
And that's when they took you out of your home and gave you to your new family that raised you like their own.
Yes. I stopped being raised by a group of wolves, and I just didn't just like eat the Dr. Pepper cans.
All right, so back to our original point, which was Kyler Murray was measured today.
How the hell?
It was just a long way to get there.
He ended up being 5'10" and 1/8 inches, which, I mean, we've all been around him. I know Mike Houck was on record of saying he was 5'10". Is anybody surprised? Like, I think
the only people that are surprised are the people that haven't paid attention to anything.
Yeah.
I think he did the same stuff Baker talked about. Baker owned that there was all these stretches you could do to stretch yourself out as far as you could. And Baker was like, I was like at least half an inch taller at the combine than I am walking around every day.
But it kind of led to the same reaction from us, and I know Eddie said this a bunch, but thank God Kyler Murray can play football now. It's been proven now that he's 5'10".
I love the overreaction this morning when it did come out. It was reported that he was 5'10", and all of a sudden it's like, well, he can now be allowed to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
I will give credit where credit is due, even though I don't know if credit's the right word, but the goddamn OU Daily, man, they are always first to put the clickbait article out there. Is that like a class that they offer now?
It's
like,
gotta be.
Like, my God, as soon as well, I mean, I've been following Charles Robinson because he's been giving all the updates on everyone.
Yeah, Shefty put it out
I
early.
guess Schefter put it out. But immediately the clickbait, Kyler Murray's 5'10".
They must have just had the article written and then
Kyler
just
Murray
clicked in 5'10".
just got measured at the combine. How tall is he? Click here.
I don't know. Maybe read Twitter and then you'll know. Don't need to click on your article.
Because that's actually what they do really well is they'll put the tweet and post it, and then they'll go back and edit things and put in more info. But when you just put out there initially.
Have you wrote clickbait today?
So, yeah, the biggest news was that Kyler Murray, and it was Ian Rappaport, I believe, that put it out there first, is that he is not going to throw at the combine.
Oh, so that means Josh didn't know since he's blocked.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you got blocked by
Ian
Rap Sheet.
Rappaport.
Another mark.
Because I made a joke
bombs
about
today.
the whole thing with the Cleveland linebacker, and it was like the Cleveland linebacker was the asshole, not Ian Rappaport. I made a joke about the linebacker, and Ian blocked me. I think that went backward.
We found
Michael
out
Kendricks.
that he's soft.
Michael Kendricks.
Oh, that was the
Just
guy
doing a
that
little insider trading.
That was the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the guy that got
Yeah.
the insider trading charge.
Kinda cool.
Yeah, because remember he went after Rappaport about how wrong he was, like, you don't know shit and blah, 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 blah. And it ended up Rappaport was absolutely right, and I was just given the linebacker stick, and Rappaport blocks me. So, I don't know what that's about.
We'll say that's a win on your part.
Yeah, but he's like the only guy on Twitter that I would be interested in following that blocks me. So I'll see on my timeline, like, all these quote tweets, and it's like, tweet not available, tweet not available. I'm like, oh, shit, Ian Rappaport broke something. So that's always fun.
Well, this is what you have to do. This is coming from a professional that's been blocked by many people.
Tulsa football.
Tulsa football.
You just gotta log back into the SoonerScoop account, and then you just see who it is.
That's how I look at Kel
Sure.
Gundy's tweets.
Yep.
Everybody's blocked by somebody.
Is that how you and Tim Kawakami keep such good relations?
I get all my Warriors news through Anthony Slater, who's a much better professional, much better
sure.
person. And
But that was the
not
thing,
a
and I
little
told
bitch
you.
like Tim Kawakami.
Tim Kawakami told people if they subscribed to The Athletic, he would unblock them.
Yeah, and I'm
so
sub-
you
I'm
should
a
be able to be
subscriber.
unblocked.
Have I told my Anthony Slater story?
I don't know.
No.
It's not bad. Like, it's nothing against Anthony. Okay, so when the whole Oklahoma State Thayer Evans story came out, I tweeted something about knowing Thayer for a long time. For those that don't know, Thayer and I went to high school together. I've known him since I was 16, and Thayer and I have run into each other at different things and recruiting through the years and that kind of stuff. And I can't remember what I said. Like, I won't pretend Thayer and I are good friends. He's not my people. It's fine. It's not bad. It's just that's not somebody I spend my time around.
I think he's in the agency business now.
Is he? Yeah, that I could totally
Or
buy
PR, sports PR or something like that. He got
To
out of
Thayer's
journalism.
credit, Thayer, pretty good high school basketball player, and was like the
Kinda surprising at
quintessential
West.
6'4" power forward that just beat the crap out of everybody. Like, just a dude that, like, he was going to maximize his 5 fouls. But anyway, I tweet something, and Anthony.
And for people that don't know, Thayer Evans was the one that wrote the big expose that was going to blow it wide open at Oklahoma State about all the cheating and prostitutes and limousines and this and that, and it ended up just being a disaster.
Yeah, like it. I don't even remember. Like, was it they couldn't verify it, or did they verify most of it was bull?
They verified that most of it came from, like, disgruntled people, I think,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And, like, he didn't double check any sources or facts on it, and
Yeah.
it just all ended up falling apart.
Yeah, Thayer is also the one that did the big Dorial Green Beckham story. He's the one that did Jamarcus McFarland for
Yes,
USA Today.
yes.
That had the infamous, what was it, women sexing each other or something like that, like at some party
Yes.
after the OU Texas game
Uh-huh.
that ended up being total bullshit. There were some inconsistencies in Thayer's career, I guess we'd say it that way. But anyway, Anthony contacts me. He's like, "Hey, would you like to go on the record?" I'm like, No. I don't want to be part of this story at all. Like, that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to stop talking about this now because I don't want to be.
That whole thing was ugly. I mean, like, when you had people in the media that were getting quoted by OSU on that page they made, like, it was like OSU was actively trying to get people to slander SI. And it was just a big mudslinging thing, like, and that, it's kind of disappointing. Like, I was glad that you turned that down. I would not have wanted to been associated with anything, what was going on at that time, because it was ugly.
Who was the co-author on that story? Because it wasn't just there. I want to say, but I'm like, I'm not.
It was such a poorly reported story. I completely have forgotten about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now.
George Dorman. Was the other one.
Well.
So, yeah. So, anyway, not that enthralling of a story, just a funny little side note on Anthony Slater, who was really good about it. Didn't I told him no, and he was cool with it. He understood. So,
I can remember Anthony Slater we led to that from Tim Kawakami, which I think led to that from you being blocked from Ian Rappaport, which was about him breaking the news today.
Slippery slope.
So now
as
we come off of the tangent that I'm giving myself credit. I'm pretty good now at leading us back and figuring out how we got off on tangents. So I think, Bob, you noticed this before, but didn't you see a report saying that Kyler wasn't going to do any workouts at the Combine, or was that?
Yeah, it was like at 10:45 today. Not only was he not going to throw, he's not going to do any testing.
That's so
just
stupid.
Nothing. Just interviews and
does it matter?
being measured. It was actually the guy that Lincoln and Skip and Bob went against. I don't remember.
Oh, Tom Pelissero?
Yep, him.
That little bitch has had a hell of a week.
Pelissari.
Does it matter, though, what he does at the Combine? Or that he isn't throwing?
I just think, like, it makes him look a little, like, what's he afraid of? Like, what? I mean, we know that he is an unbelievable athlete. I think he can only help himself by working out, by throwing. Like, I said it this morning. I'm steal it from Sam Presti, who stole it from, I think, Roots. I don't know. No, it wasn't Roots. Scared money don't make none.
It's a Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe Called Quest, yeah.
I don't know. I guess that I don't really see it as a huge deal. I mean, everybody knows he can make every throw out there.
But that was what was so great about what Baker did last year. He went out there, and when he got to put his arm against every other quarterback that was out there, everyone could say, well, shit, look at his arm. It's really good, like a lot better than I thought. Like, there's people that I mean, like, we've seen him in person. We've seen him even in practice. Like, we've seen him next to Baker. Like, we have a view of his arm that is a very positive view. Like, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks in our time throw footballs around in practices, and Kyler is one of the best. He puts his velocity, I would put it up there with any quarterback I've ever seen at the University of Oklahoma. I would.
Including Landry Jones, who threw the shit out of the football.
Yeah. I mean, so... And he's much more accurate. I mean, all the throws that they ask you to make at the Combine, Josh, they basically ask you to drop it in a bucket. You make one really tough pass down the seam or a hard pass down the seam, and then you do all the out stuff, which nobody does great at because the timing is terrible. They just want to see you put the ball where you think it's supposed to be. Like, if you miss a receiver, they just don't want to see you throwing it into the stands.
Well, and that's the thing, because at a pro day, I mean, I think people misunderstand that this is, OU goes in and runs the pro day. Those NFL scouts are saying, okay, we want to see him do this. We want to, they're kind of directing how that goes.
Yes.
At the Combine, they're doing the same shit every year. So Kyler can go off with his trainer and be like, okay, we need you to do this, this, and this. And he can walk right through it. And sure, they're different receivers, but people are looking at, is Kyler putting it where it needs to be? Is he throwing it to the outside shoulder and that receiver wasn't fast enough to go get it?
Yeah.
Is he doing these things? They can gauge that stuff. Like I said, I agree completely. I don't think there was any need for him to do the testing because just like Lamar Jackson last year, all Kyler was going to do was run less than people wanted him to. If he ran 4.35 or whatever, which I think is probably about where he'd be, everybody would say, well, yeah, that's what we saw on tape. No big deal. I think if he went out and ran 4.5, which is still blistering, it would have been like, oh, well, maybe he's not as fast as we thought he was. So he only had something to lose by doing the testing, in my opinion. But throwing, I think he could have done nothing but help himself, because I think there still is a belief, even amongst scouts, that he's not the passer that he is. Kyler is, like you said, Kerry, he is super gifted, and I think he would have done nothing but help himself.
I'll be honest, if you're a scout out there and you don't think that Kyler Murray can throw to an extent of, I guess, what everybody, I think that we agree that he can, you need to get out of the business, because you're not doing your job.
He's not just trying to impress the day-to-day scouts. He's also, I mean, that's a lot of times coaches for the first time. Or, I mean, you think an NFL head coach really has a chance to sit down and watch all of Kyler's games? No, they haven't. An owner,
Cliff Kingsbury is probably one of the few.
Yeah, I mean, an owner that might be sitting in, up in the box or something, I mean, that might see that and go, whoa, that kid really slings it. Like, for some of those people, that's the first time they'll ever see him throw a football in person.
I guarantee, like, let's say the Giants, who we know are looking at a quarterback, that's the first time their general manager is going to see Kyler Murray throw in person. Flat out just is.
And he's there.
And that's a chance to build some momentum, some buzz. You start getting that conversation going. And like I said, you're right, Eddie. But something I was really interested to listen to this. I listen to Daniel Jeremiah a lot. He's got a podcast that's pretty good.
Really
him and Bucky Brooks talk, and he was talking about how the scouting process kind of works. And he was saying, a lot of times we'll go in during two-a-days, and we'll watch them go through practice, and we'll watch them. We may not see a guy again because we've got 70 schools to get through. We may not see a guy again until the combine. So there's some guys that saw Kyler Murray go through practice, and they've gone back. His area scout has gone back over his film, but like the head of scouting, he may not have really looked over anything serious on Kyler Murray until the last week. So like like I said, because we're so close to it and we've watched him make every throw he's ever made in a game, I think it's easier for us to generalize things to where people that have to watch 50 quarterbacks, they may not be as comfortable with the entire skill set as we are.
Is there any possibility Arizona said, you don't need to work out, we're taking you number one?
Number one. I've seen that thrown out there. I mean,
because after this morning, it's the hot take reaction.
Yeah.
But now that he's 5'10", it seemed like there's a good chance Arizona takes him. And you put with the comments from the GM yesterday on Wednesday about in Indianapolis about Josh Rosen being their quarterback for now, adding Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, it just, I don't know. It would almost seem like right now I'd be surprised on February 28th if Kyler wasn't the number one quarterback taken or the number one picked.
5'10" gives you the Russell Wilson defense. We thought he was Russell Wilson because at 5'9", okay, we're going to do something literally no one has done. There's never been a quarterback that size that has been worthy of a number one pick. Which now you can say Russell Wilson.
I think it's so stupid though because it's 1 inch.
Here's the one.
It's weird how that works out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Here's the one thing that that makes me think it's not about the Cardinals giving him assurances, is because he has ducked this question for a while. Like, I think his camp had made the decision a long time ago, like, we're not doing anything at the combine. Like, they just, like, he was asked about it at the basketball game, and like, even then, like, even before then, it's like, I don't know, we haven't decided yet. Like, that's kind of like the Kyler thing. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm signed with the A's, but I don't know what I'm going to do for football. Like, you know what you're going to do, you just don't want to say it.
Yeah.
It's almost like he and his camp, they've got all these decisions made, they just don't ever want to make them public because they know it's not, there's going to be a lot of noise, it's not going to be popular, but that's what they want to do.
And that's what this weekend's going to be about, the interview process for him. Because even with us, where you would think you would have felt comfortable as many times we've been around him, he still would stutter, stammer, or maybe not quite understand what was being asked. This would be a big weekend in terms of that.
Well, that's where, I mean, I think you can go back to even last year. That's where Baker Mayfield, I think, officially became the number one pick, or at least in Cleveland's mind, is when they got him in the room and, we're like, all right, this guy knows everything that we are trying to do offensively.
You remember the story about that, though, right? John Dorsey, when he first came in the room, he goes, "So I heard you like food trucks." And Baker just started laughing because he's talking about his Arkansas deal getting arrested. I
don't think I remember that. That happened.
You didn't hear that? I think that was in Peter King, in his story that he did.
Guys, do you remember this podcast last year? We were having this literal conversation. Baker Mayfield's going to go into these interviews and murder it. People are going to fall in love with him.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened, because that was when it started to be like, oh, he's not just top 15, he's top 5.
Yeah.
The conversation started to shift.
But what Bob is saying is you can't say the same thing about Kyler.
No, absolutely not.
I agree.
And I think that's probably also just because we knew Baker 3 years of interacting with him, as opposed to,
year and a half.
We covered Mike Murray for a year and a half, but we talked to him so few times that never really got to know the guy, to be honest.
Yeah, there was maybe 3 or 4 times the entire time he was here where we talked to him like on a practice field.
I think I have a pretty good idea of who Kyler Murray is, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I wonder how much he gets banged just because
I bet it's quite a bit.
Not.
He's a quarterback at Oklahoma. He won the Heisman.
Yeah, no, hey, first round money. Baseball and draft football. I'm sure he's cleaning up. I wonder how much he gets knocked, though, because no matter how much you try not to engage it, the comparison's going to be there. Well, he's not like Baker. We're literally having that conversation. And what does it matter if he's not like Baker? Because, you didn't hear anybody like, oh, Kyler's a bad teammate or Kyler doesn't have leadership skills. I think he does. It's just very, very different than Baker's.
I think he'd be great in New York.
I just don't think
put him with Sterling and Odell Beckham.
It'd be awesome.
That would be his element, I think.
I think the Giants, though, even if the Cardinals don't take him, I think the Giants are kind of dead set on taking Haskins, just from everything that you read.
Yeah.
But I have heard the argument, and it makes sense. Pat Shurmur did really well in Minnesota with a quote-unquote shorter quarterback in Case Keenum.
Hell, he did great with Sam Bradford the year that he was healthy. That's been the most...
I think the Giants would do better with anybody than Eli Manning.
Well, that's the most perplexing thing, is that he couldn't do it. He couldn't make an offense great with Eli Manning. And I think part of that's their offensive line.
Which, contrary to Stephen A. Smith's belief, is not going to be aided by Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
unless they want to run the wishbone, which you want to do
Kyler
that, you go with Haskins. He's a runner.
Kyler can give you some time to develop that offensive line.
And it's terrible, yeah.
Yeah, okay, we used our first round pick on Kyler Murray. Now let's spend the next couple of years building an offensive line around him. If you build Dwayne Haskins, well, we're not going to play him this first year because we don't want him to die on the field. So I agree. And like I said, in New York, it's a long time belief. You've got to have a big arm to deal with the winds and the way it works there. He's a guy that can handle that. And I think as a guy that has a lot of self-confidence, to not worry about the massive media and the way that works. Kyler can shut all that stuff out as well as probably anybody we've seen. So I don't think that would faze him.
If he's taken by the Giants, we have to fly to New York for the first press conference, because that would be a spectacle. Kyler Murray in front of the New York media. He's uncomfortable in front of 5 of us on a Saturday at halftime of an OU basketball game. 55 media members.
I can't imagine Kevin Durant in New York. If he goes to the Knicks, they will eat him alive.
I think that's going to happen. It might happen.
Being second guest in, the 15th biggest market in the NBA has got to be tough.
But I think you're right. Kyler is kind of built to handle that. He internalizes everything. Mm-hmm. He doesn't let things get to him, it doesn't seem like.
But it would get to the media. They'd start portraying him as a bad dude.
Yeah. If he didn't play, if he didn't perform, and he treated them like assholes, they would completely try and kill the guy.
Yeah, but that's not exclusive to Kyler Murray.
No,
it's anybody.
That's literally anybody. I mean,
Yep.
what happened to?
I just think like
that happened to Stanton for 6 months last
season.
season.
Speaking of smaller guys, we won't turn the whole topic away. This just popped up and was really interesting. PFF just released a little stat, a little graphic, forced incompletion percentage. Would you guess which Oklahoma defender was the second highest among Big 12 safeties last year?
Safeties?
Uh-huh.
Now say that again.
Forced incompletion percentage. So
I'm going to say
guys
Buki.
were targeted at least 25 times.
I'm going to say Barnes.
They forced an incompletion.
I'm going to say Buki.
I mean,
Gary's right. Buki.
Boom.
Second only to Caden Stearns. Head of B.J. Foster.
That's unbelievable.
Eddie Robinson, head of Greg Eisworth.
Is that just Big 12?
Yeah, that's just Big 12. Just Big 12.
Well, he didn't have to play in a few games there at the end.
Everybody.
Yeah, he probably had the least amount of attempts and the highest amount of incomplete passes, don't you think?
Oh, he's that guy. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen that video that's on all over Twitter right now of like all the stereotypical DBs, like quarterback overthrows the guy by 30 yards. He's like, nope, no completion. You know, like he had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But Buki was very good about that.
Okay, so on top of Kyler Murray, Rodney Anderson is at the combine. He is not going to run. He's trying to do that at OU's Pro Day, which is on March 13th. But I've seen a lot of really positive things. I mean, people saying that just physically they were surprised that he looks like a guy that hadn't even had surgery. So, I mean, remember, Rodney Anderson was a guy that left the team and went to Birmingham to work at the super facility out there. It's not the Dr. James Andrews, but it's another guy that's really highly respected. I think I think Peyton Manning, but definitely he worked a lot after what's his name shoulder injury before he went to the Saints. I can't even remember their quarterback.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. My God.
He's been around. He's been around for a couple years.
He's a small-time guy. Easy to forget.
You know. But no, he was. Yeah, but so he. I mean, all of us. I mean, we know Rodney Anderson and what he's come back from. There's nobody that's going to surprise me. You know, if he comes out and looks like nothing ever happened on March 13th, I'm not going to be surprised in the least.
But can he sustain it? That's going to be the question. He has always looked incredible. But then one freak accident after another, you just start to wonder if it's just not in the cards.
Did he lose his
body can't hold
junior
up.
year or senior year in high school because of a knee injury? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No,
I think he was healthy coming out of high school.
Yeah,
was he healthy all the
He was an early enrollee who got hurt in spring.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because I saw him as a senior.
Yeah.
Like, I know he was healthy as a senior.
Three injuries, right? And two of them were the season
injury
enders.
was the broken leg at
Tennessee.
on kickoff at Tennessee. Then the spring was he broke his neck after that. And then the knee
injury against UCLA.
Year,
what a strange career. Is he the number one player? And I think we've talked about this before. Number one player that
the most hard luck case in OU history.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't even think there's anybody that competes with him.
The good news for him is if he can stay healthy, he doesn't have much wear and tear on the tires. He's going to be able to stay around, I think, or at least have an opportunity to stick with the team. I mean, somebody's taking him. We all agree on that, right? He's going to be drafted.
Yes.
I'll be shocked if he's still there in the fourth round, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Because like I said, I think you could have the argument with Josh Jacobs, but with that exception, if Anderson's healthy, I don't think there's anybody else that's in that running back one conversation.
Has there really been talk of him running here in a couple of weeks? That would only be like 6.5 months.
I haven't seen anything.
No, I'm just saying that. I mean, that's the
update.
theory.
Okay.
Like, if he doesn't, then maybe he can at the pro day. But yeah, I mean, it's still. I still have a hard time seeing him do that full. I mean, just full go.
And you talk about another guy that people are going to love in interviews, like not so much like a Baker, but just a kid that gets it. You know, he'll do the things you want him to do. He'll answer the right way, like super not brash. I just think he's a kid that when they go through that process as a running back, he'll be a guy that a lot of a lot of franchises fall in love with.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we done talking about Anderson. I was just going to say who's from that offensive line group who can help himself the most. I know that we answered it in a roundtable, but
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. Cody Ford's, I guess, can solidify himself as a first rounder going into this weekend. But is there, out of Evans, Ford, and Powers, I'm pretty interested, I guess, to see how this group goes together in the combine and then obviously into the NFL draft.
I'd be surprised if Powers doesn't lift the most.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised, outside of Ford, of those three guys, Samia, Powers, and Evans. I'm kind of backing. I don't know how athletic Evans is really going to test. I don't know where he sits with some of that stuff.
I don't know what he'll run his 40 like. Like, I think that's always kind of hard to gauge. But, like, when I think of Trent Williams and when he went crazy on his combine day, it was that drill where they do that shuffle for a long time, and then it's almost like a corner, like they have to break their hips and kind of open up and run. And everybody was like, holy shit. I mean, Trent Williams looked like a linebacker doing that. And I don't know that Bobby's going to be quite that good. And he's certainly not going in there with the same, because everybody kind of thought Trent would be a first rounder.
Yeah.
But it was kind of that day that he became, okay, he's top 10 kind of guy. I think this that drill right there could really turn Bobby Evans from a, fourth, fifth round kind of guy to maybe a second or third kind of guy.
I think that there's anything that we can take out of the combine is Orlando Brown kind of put to rest that you don't need to, you don't have to test well.
I don't know if he put it to rest other than he still is going to be that outlier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's not going to be people that put up bad numbers then all of a sudden are just good football players. Like Orlando Brown is abnormality. I don't know.
You better be a 4-year starter, a 3-year starter at Alabama, Oklahoma, an Outland Trophy finalist. Like you're going to have.
He's an outlier to the rule, I guess.
Yeah,
because it's rare that you can be that successful in college and be that modest athletically. I thought his tweet yesterday was awesome.
Yeah,
that
you
entire
rarely
thread.
see a guy that is that realistic about who he is as a player. Like he was like, I'm not elite athletically, but I have these other things and I have an understanding, and that makes me the player I am. And man, if I dealt with more guys that could really be honest about where their strengths lie, there'd be a lot more good football players because he's not trying to be someone he's not.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of reminds me of the guy that, like, I mean, Orlando, it's worked out for you, but now you're giving false hope to a bunch of kids that have no business.
True.
Like
I'm the next Orlando.
Yeah, like after Wes Welker, every little white slot receiver thought he was going to be the next Wes Welker because he was a white slot receiver.
Well, every guy that shows up to campus 40 pounds overweight that doesn't move their feet all that well is going to be an Outland Trophy finalist. Like, it doesn't usually go like that.
Yeah. Well, and every agent is going to be like, well, Orlando Brown didn't test well. We still think he's a first rounder.
We should get into the agent group business here over the next couple of years and just start stockpiling 6'8", 320 duds and just take money from them.
Well, I mean, that would just be like a trainer for, a good portion of Texas.
Shots fired.
I'm ready to move down whenever, and we can get this going. I'll be based out of Houston.
I'm going to tell you, I think we're doing better now than we would as fake trainers.
Yeah, that's probably true, too.
Think we made a strong choice to not go down the fake trainer role, like media/trainer. That's dangerous.
That's coming, though, I think.
That's the next step.
I think we're in the here.
Let me train you, and then I'm going to interview you afterwards. It's a 2-for-1.
Well,
$500 a month.
I'm talking more like I'm going to interview you and get you scholarships.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
literally
impossible.
Going on.
Oh, I mean, guys, we knew about the guy from Mustang a couple years ago. There was the whole conversation that he was getting offers because of a certain media member, and I'm like, no.
It doesn't work like that.
Your coach, like nobody's listening to that person. Your coaching staff is telling people good things, and you've got, two really respected high school coaches on your staff that are making calls for you. So parents out there listening, trainers are not getting you offers. It's not happening. Just don't I've got no problem. If you want to work with a good trainer, that's cool. Like, that's great. JD Reynolds, the guy we know, we love him, good dude, all that stuff.
Not training anymore, though.
Yeah, not training anymore. JD will flat out tell you they're going to go to your high school coaches and ask for your opinion. If you're spending all your time with trainers that are basically more about putting themselves up there in front of everybody than your kids, the high school coaches are not going to have strong reviews. Just don't do that.
Okay, so
PSA done.
Let me ask you this question: who is the next OU defensive player that's going to be drafted?
That will actually be a guy that people are saying this is going to be a guy to watch at the combine because he can work himself into the first round type guy.
We talking top 3 rounds,
I'd say first 2 days.
I think Neville.
Yes, that's what I wrote.
Neville is doing some serious work this offseason.
I want to believe that. I want to believe that. I think I've been hung out to dry the last 2 years, and that's unfair to probably Gallimore because he hasn't just been awful.
He was okay last year. I mean, he was hurt. He was banged up.
I'm gonna go more in a wait and see approach though.
The thing with Gallimore,
defensive tackle in the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, the thing with Gallimore, he had a hard time staying fresh the entire season. When he gets banged up, you can really tell.
Here's the thing, though. This is the rub, and that is with Alex Grinch coming in. If you see, turnovers start happening, if you see a bunch of guys gaining confidence on that side of the ball, we know that there are some guys there's 5 stars on that defense. Could Caleb Kelly become a name? If they could figure out a role for him and he started gaining more confidence. I mean, it's not like Caleb Kelly has played poorly when he's been given the chance. I mean, the strip sack and touchdown at West Virginia. He had a touchdown against TCU in the Big 12 championship game. Played really well against Auburn when they played in the Sugar Bowl. He's shown flashes of why he was a 5-star in the first place. I still think he's a guy that could, if they coach him up and get him in the right system and find the right place for him, he could be a guy that turns some heads going into the combine next year.
They only got 1 year to do it. If he was a little younger, I'd feel more confident. But they just got this one spring basically to try to figure it out and then put him in that spot once the season comes.
Yeah, and I think that's why there's so much, optimism and excitement, going into next week when they do start practice because there are so many questions on the defensive side of the ball, and with a new set of eyeballs on them and evaluating them, I think the guy that everybody's talked about and probably everybody will write about over the next month is Deshaun White and what he does and how he can develop into is he going to be the middle linebacker? And then how does that affect a guy like Caleb Kelly? If Deshaun White's all of a sudden in the middle, do you think about, do you get to a point where you just don't put Kenneth Murray on the football field anymore? I still think he can contribute at some point for this group.
You almost have the same problem with Kenneth Murray and Caleb Kelly in that they're not really true instinctual middle linebackers or inside linebackers. They can run sideline to sideline, but when it comes to all the angles involved with being an inside linebacker, they're just not natural. Whereas Deshaun White clearly has more instincts for the position.
And that comes back to we had no idea what scheme they've been recruiting for at that position for the last 3-4 years. Just getting guys and then trying to figure it out.
But, this is a 3-4. So, that's essentially their base is 3-4. So, they're going to be able to have linebackers on the field. If you have 2 guys like that, find out which one can play will and then find out what you can do with the guy on the other side, your other outside linebacker. And I think Murray could be a will. I think he's more of a will than he is a Mike. I don't know how you see that, Josh.
I think you're right. I think that's where he best fits. I guess I'm one of the few people, and Carrie, I may be taking over your role. I'm kind of buying the defense right now. Based on, and I still need to do the kind of under the hood of Grinch. I found a USC game from Washington State, and I kind of want to go over it, just kind of what they're doing personnel wise and that kind of thing. But I see things that they do, and I'm like, man, okay, you put, Kenneth Murray in those shoes. You put Deshaun White here. You put Ronnie Perkins here. Like, okay, that makes some sense. I mean, because if you want to be attacking and you want to put athletes out there, whatever else you want to say about Oklahoma's front seven, there's some athletic guys there. I don't know if there's the depth that you can run out there, just guy after guy after guy. But, like, if your front seven is an attacking one-gap, scheme, and you've got Deshaun White, Kenneth Murray, Ronnie Perkins, Jalen Redmond, Neville Gallimore, those are athletic guys for their roles, and you can do some things. So, like I said, I think that it can work, but, I mean, we've got to see it all, kind of come to light.
I'll ask you this, Josh, because you always bring him up. Do you think Ronnie Perkins is a potential first-round draft pick?
I do. I'll be honest. With Ronnie, it's going to be, is he quite tall enough to be that dude? Like, and I know, like, it's like we talked about with Kyler. I think he's probably 6'2" and some change, and I think that should be fine. But when you talk about NFL defensive ends, those guys are 6'3", 6'4". They're bigger, longer type guys. And I don't know if he'll get knocked for that. But there's stuff he does on tape that nobody else in Oklahoma's front seven has done for several years. I mean, he can do some things that nobody else can match. So, like I said, if you can get him and Jalen Redmond opposite of each other, that's a really good starting point. And, and again, I know we've mentioned the round table story that we've got coming. We talked about who could be that guy, and Ronnie Perkins was a guy I brought up. If I can count on Jalen Redmond being healthy, he'd be in that conversation for me too. Because I thought even in the limited time we saw last year, there was some stuff you were like, wow, there's nobody else on this roster doing the stuff he does.
I want to get some spring football, but I also want to talk about some of the recruiting stuff that's been going on. We had the Houston Rivals camp that Josh attended. There's the opening coming up this weekend in Dallas. But first, I want to remind you guys, Coop Ale Works, we talked when the show started. 6 months now into the podcast, and Coop Ale Works has been there every step of the way. And appreciate all you guys out there listening that have tried the beers, that have enjoyed the beers, that have sent us a lot of social and snap pictures and stuff, especially on game days and things like that. But CoopAleWorks.com, go check them out. They've been around for 9 going on 10 years here in Oklahoma City, local brewery. They've got 7 year-round beers like the Saturday Siren, the Dry Hop Pilsner. The F5 IPA is one of their favorites. The Spare Rib is kind of similar. It's a pale ale, and then the Horny Toad Blonde, Native Amber, DNR, all those. I really like all those beers. So go check them out. You can see where you can pick some up near you. But really, almost every liquor store out there has them. So go support one of our great sponsors, Coop Ale Works, and check them out, CoopAleWorks.com. Okay, so the Houston Rivals was last week, Josh. Coming off of the LA camp, but you got to see quite a few Sooner prospects and future prospects in Houston. Kind of give us a quick rundown of what you really learned coming out of that Houston Rivals camp.
Well, it was one of those things, and I kind of did the write-up afterward, and everybody was kind of like, oh, well, that wasn't as positive as we were hoping. I think it helped me get an idea of some guys that I thought maybe Oklahoma was really going to have, a real serious role with. And as I walked away, I thought, I don't know that I see that coming together. And then some other guys, I thought, okay, maybe down the road this could be a guy. Probably the first name of that group is Josh Eaton, the cornerback that Oklahoma offered about 2 weeks ago out of MacArthur in the Houston area. He's a guy that has blown up, and he is exactly what Roy Manning and Alex Grinch seem to be focused on. Big, long guy, track times. I mean, he is the prototype kind of corner. And right now I think we've got him at like 68 in the state. That'll change. I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't think enough people had seen his film, and as it got around and more people noticed him, he'll be a Rivals 250 guy at least, probably before he's done. But talking to him and, some other reporters that were there, Jason Sukamel from our Texas site, our regional guy, Sam Spiegelman, just some of the guys that were around him, he didn't really hide how much he was kind of liking Texas at the moment. I think he went 2 weeks ago. I believe he's going back again this weekend. I think the writing's on the wall a little bit there, and people will always take that as a negative, but I think it allows you to say, okay, maybe that's not where that's going to work. Maybe Ryan Watts and Jahari Rogers are our focus. It just allows OU's in on plenty of good targets. It's just finding the guys who are going to be your primaries. Vernon Broughton is another one guy at Cy Ridge in Houston. What the people I talk to, he continues to give Oklahoma, some hope and kind of says the right things, but he's made no bones about Texas being his favorite. So I don't know what to really make of that yet. I think that's going to be something that we have to follow. He might be a kid that's having some fun, kind of playing the game a little bit, or he could just be a guy that's leaning to Texas and, has trouble telling people no. So we'll kind of see how that goes. The one guy, I guess the two guys that I really came away feeling like, okay, Oklahoma is very real here, are Tunmise Adelier, the Katie Tompkins product that has a chance to be a top 5 guy in state in Texas next year. He is a big-time defensive end. I think his dad is on board with Oklahoma. I think that's where his dad likes him. I think his dad kind of liked OU coming in, and I think that visit he took for the first junior day really sold OU. He is outstanding. He's a big defensive end, about 6'3", about 255, just a near perfect fit for what we expect Oklahoma to do defensively. He's really good. The other being Bryce Foster, who was O-line MVP of the camp, like Adelier and Broughton, got an invite to the 5-star challenge. Bryce Foster was unbelievable. Just
that dude.
Physical. That
just
clip
watching the
I
film
tweeted out.
Yes.
He started at left guard. For the people that haven't seen it, he starts at left guard, and he's going against a pretty good player. He runs the guy past the right tackle in drills. Like, that doesn't happen. And he's just physical. And when I talked to him, he's the guy that, for those that don't remember, he talked about meeting Jalen Hurts in Lincoln Riley's office and was talking about just you could tell what a leader Hurts was and really, kind of just liked being around him. He'll go back to Oklahoma. It wouldn't shock me if he shows up for the spring game. I mean, there's a lot going on with him. Now, these are both 2021 guys, so you kind of got to be patient and, see how things progress. But I think Oklahoma is in a very good spot there. And to be in early in Houston is important for Oklahoma because A&M and Texas have such big advantages in Houston as compared to, like, DFW that they've got to get to these early starts. And with these two, they really have.
Okay, and on top of that, OU had their second junior day. That was when Kyler Murray came back and had the basketball recognition of the Heisman and did his press conference. But the Sooners do end up getting a commitment that we haven't talked about out of that, and it's someone that might be a future kind of Dimitri Flowers type.
Yeah, he is a guy that, it's amazing, like, we've already mentioned JD, where it kind of started with the fullbacks at Oklahoma, and, no offense to Seth Luttrell, as these guys that were kind of hybrid, not the traditional fullbacks, could do some different things, catch passes, do some of those things. Michael Henderson is the next evolution. I mean, you go and watch tape, Michael Henderson is not that different from Trey Sermon. Like, there are some definite comparables there, and when you look at that and see that, okay, he's going to be an H-back, there's just so much Lincoln Riley, a guy as creative as him, can do with a guy like Michael Henderson. He can be a single back. He can be an H-back. They can line him up at tight end. He can flank out and play receiver. He can play wildcat because he plays quarterback.
Hey, Lincoln Riley made Carson Meyer useful. I mean,
yes.
Whoa!
Wow!
I'm
sorry,
Bob. I'm taking a shot at Bob.
Quiet, Bob.
I'm seeing if Bob's paying attention.
Somebody right now.
What? I'm seeing if Bob's paying attention to the podcast.
Eddie, grab the knife from Bob's hand. Just take that out of there.
There are a lot of heavy objects around him.
But no, I mean, Michael Henderson is a really dangerous weapon in a guy like Lincoln Riley's offense. So I realize he's a 3-star and not everybody's going to get excited about him. That's a guy that I'd about guarantee is a 3-year starter that's a really good player for Oklahoma.
Josh, you think he could ever get to the 4-star when he's playing quarterback the entire time?
I do. I mean, like, because I think that at the same time, like I said, with what he has done, I think he's bought, when I say he, with what Lincoln Riley has done, he's bought a lot of credibility that these aren't just guys that he's going to kind of throw around. I still think if Henderson had finished last year, been fully healthy, I think that he might have already made that jump. But I also think, because he's at a place like Irving Ranch View where not a lot of people see him, I think that if he goes to some camps, can get out and be seen a little bit, because everything I've been told, that 6'3", 225 is very legitimate. This is a big, strong, sturdy guy that when you watch him on tape, runs around people, is making all kinds of plays. There's a lot to like there. So I'm with you, Bob. It won't shock me at all. And frankly, I think he probably should, before it's all said and done, be probably a 5.8 4-star guy.
By the way, Carson Meyer was fantastic against Alabama. You could make a case, Bob, that he was
stock up.
Stock was definitely up, although stock is over now.
He went out stock up.
Yeah.
He's forever stock up.
He's forever stock up. Like if we make a stock up trophy,
Carson
Meyer will be the image that we use. Give it away every year. The stock up champion.
The biggest game of Carson Meyer's career might be on March 13th when he's like one of the only wide receivers that is available to catch balls for Kyler Murray. And with Hollywood out, who is going to catch footballs for him?
I think that CeeDee Lamb can
he's gonna
participate.
He can?
I think that you can if you are. I don't know in the drills, but they were supposed to change the rules to where underclassmen, I think as long as they were a year within being eligible for the draft, that they could participate. So
okay.
I need to check it out.
Because I thought you couldn't if you were still in school. But I remember that
I need
coming
to go
up
back
last
and look
year.
at pictures last year. It was Mark Andrews. That Baker was throwing to.
Oh, it was Mark Andrews, Jordan Smallwood,
Meade,
Jeffrey Meade. Didn't really work out for him. I really can't remember.
I don't know, or maybe it was being able to attend or something. I mean, there's some rule that they came up with, but no, I mean that's a concern. I mean, and he's not going to know. By the way, this is ridiculous. Are you sure you're not getting catfished?
No, it's all over.
Yeah, they're showing it on the NFL Network right now.
I had to double check myself.
Jason Witten unretires. That's amazing.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to broadcasting.
I think somebody.
Doesn't Booger have to lose his job too? I mean, you can't.
I like Booger.
Really, you like him rolling around on that thing?
No, I don't know that I love that aspect of it, but I think he brings a decent perspective. And in the NFL, he's just a guy talking. In college, he can't take his SEC LSU thing out of the conversation. In NFL, he's a guy that is articulate and he can talk about things and he's got a good perspective and he's kind of enjoyable to listen to. Witten, all the takes of him being a robot are very accurate.
Romo to Monday night? Is that a lateral move? Like, is that a step down from what he's at right now?
Yes.
Is it?
Because
Monday night
prime time.
Monday night doesn't get the best game.
Prime
anymore.
time Sunday is where you want to be. I mean, that's why Aikman, Joe Buck are where they are.
And he can never have a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. All right. So coming up, possibly depending on the weather, Big Bread, Big Dairy are really striking back right now.
Oh, they won today. I mean, schools were canceled.
Schools were closed.
Cold concrete.
I know.
They had a better chance of being closed yesterday than they deserved.
But I don't know. It was such
today.
a surprise deal because they didn't orchestrate it well enough with a local weatherman. I don't know what happened there. If maybe they were fearing FBI investigation, so they didn't collude as normally. But that couldn't have been a good day yesterday for Big Bread, Big Dairy.
So what you guys are saying is the fight, you're winning ground.
I've got to tell you, I found out something very disturbing the other day. I took my mom to point this out. Eddie has passed us all in Twitter followers.
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
Wow.
That was so long ago.
No, it was only a couple. When you got to make viral, conspiracy-ridden claims on Twitter.
Do you think it was around the Ketchum period?
It was horns up for peace. No doubt. The movement.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Gained a lot of followers over the football season just making videos and stuff.
That brings a question, Eddie. Like, what is your favorite of your particular, I guess, creations?
Probably the Jeff Ketchum thing.
I think Big Bread, Big Dairy is fantastic.
Big Bread, Big Dairy is pretty good.
Just in the fact that you are literally driving Mike Morgan insane.
Yeah. I will say Big Bread, Big Dairy is good just because it's Oklahoma City driven, and I think that there's a good chance that we need to make some T-shirts. I need to start profiting off of these ideas.
Yeah, but we've talked about that. Man.
I've promised myself that the first T-shirt that we put out has to be the Rivals Hates OU, so I'm just waiting.
It didn't win Carrie's poll.
It didn't? What did win?
Don't be a poor won the poll.
Oh, that's pretty good too, though.
I mean, we could do a.
I think there was enough votes that both of them would work.
Don't be a poor with somebody like looking over Campus Corner from the top and like a champagne flute in their hand and a football in the other.
We need to get for you. We need to get like a Che Guevara thing of your head for Big Bread and Big Dairy.
Who? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Who was he? He was Colombian, right? Was it Colombian?
Yeah, what was he born? He was something like that. He made itself famous in Cuba.
Chile?
Chilean.
Yeah, he was like Central American, maybe South.
100% poor.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, that's something that still we got to get our studio stuff straightened out. Bob just got a delivery today, so. I mean, we could do that pretty easily. I know some graphic people.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
And Eddie's hair is known to be wild.
I'll just grow it out. I already have the hair for sure.
Do we do it in black and white?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I think we have to. Yeah, I'm with you. Oh, that may be the first sure. That we may have just solidified that answer.
Perfect.
That's really good.
I'll stop by the T-shirt store on the way out of here.
Well, somebody I have to put somebody else in charge of stuff every once in a while. That's fine.
I don't think I've ever seen this. Is Kyler Murray working with his dad? Is his dad going to be
his
like
quarterback
the quarterback coach at his?
I think so, but I'm not sure. I mean,
because I mentioned to you guys before the show, it's like, where the hell is George Whitfield these days?
Does it matter?
No,
it
doesn't. Oh, it definitely
like
doesn't.
These guys,
matter.
I mean, it's just the same guy over and over. It's just, let's put him on a beach and pretend like he's a Navy SEAL, and that's going to make him it's all a shtick. It's all a gimmick.
3 or 4 years ago, though, remember, he has George Whitfield working with him. He's gonna be drafted in X, wherever.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. George Whitfield just kind of disappeared.
Once he got Johnny Manziel all ready to go, I mean, that was game over.
I think all those guys do a good job, but it's not like they are I mean, it's still about whether a guy has talent or not. You're not going to make a guy into a first-round draft pick because of your training ability. You're just not.
Kevin Murray's the only trainer on earth that can say he gave his son talent.
Look, OU would have had the best secondary in the country if Clay Mack really had magical powers, but he doesn't. And that's nothing against Clay Mack. It's just Justin Broyles went to Clay Mack every day.
For years.
So it's about talent. I mean, those guys do a good job, like I said. But there's no magical trainer.
Yep.
As long as you're not a complete moron. Like, I have seen some videos, and I think I've sent them to you guys, or I won't say any type of king or whatever was involved, but I question, what the f*** are they doing? It literally looks like it's a monkey humping a football. I don't understand the drill or the purpose of some of the drills that I see out there.
Oh, we talked about it, kind of, I guess, on our private message about some of the stuff I saw, just say it, David Agwebu doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was what I saw.
That's what Carrie's talking about.
And I messaged some people, and I was like, does this look like anything, that you would do in your, college football
productive?
Practice? And so somebody was like, I don't even know what that is. So, I mean, that Carrie, you're right. Like, it's not that these guys do a bad job. Like, there's nothing wrong with going out there and working in some ways to try and make yourself better. Like, even if it's not really a direct correlation, you're getting out there and you're working on your feet. You're moving laterally. You're doing some stuff. There's some things that are positive about that. That's fine. But this idea that you go work with a trainer and you're suddenly going to be an OU guy instead of a North Texas guy. No, your talent is what tells me if you're an OU or a North Texas guy. Like, that doesn't magically fix itself. Now,
sounds
maybe
like
because
you've
there's
got
a proximity
sounds like
thing.
I'm saying you had someone in mind there on that last example. I know.
He's now a grad transfer.
Yep, he already left.
Is he in the
he
portal?
worked with Clay Mack for a long time.
Yeah.
So and that's I mean, like, this is not a shot at the kids. Like, you are what your talent is. I don't want the kids to get fooled into like paying thousands of dollars for something that's not going to change anything. Like, you can be a better player, that's cool, but they're not going to make you run 4.4. They're not going to make you 6'1" and make your hips fluid. Like, they can help you a little bit and all those things, but like, a coach can tell if a guy is running 4.6 and has never really worked with a trainer ever. Like, okay, we can work with this guy. We can, Benny Wiley can work with him on some of his stride, and like, we can fix some things to make him that kind of guy. But if you're clearly, you've been coached and you've been trained, well, then you are what you are. Like, there's no room for growth there, which isn't always a positive thing. In fact, most of the time it's not.
And it's an admirable deal because, I mean, you have kids that are working hard, that are putting in extra work to get better, and I think it makes them better to some degree. I mean, when I was, I would love to, when I was a kid and I was playing baseball, I would stay out there all day if you let me. We had a buddy, one of the guys on our team, his dad built him a batting cage in his backyard. We thought that was the greatest thing that we ever seen. Like, oh, we can hit baseballs anytime we want. Like, my God, let's do that. Like, let's. Yep. So it's like, it's great. They want to be good. They're putting in a lot of work. That should be commended. So we're not shitting on, people that go out and seek out people. And
a really good way to say it is, you're going to be more prepared to go to Oklahoma where you were going anyway. Yeah. You're going to be more prepared to go to North Texas where you were going anyway. Like, it's not going to change anything, but yeah, it might speed up your process a little bit. I think you could say that and be pretty realistic.
And when you get there in your first semester, you'll be in shape and have a good shot of being your best you.
Maybe maybe all this footwork stuff is a prerequisite. Did you like that?
Nice.
Big word.
Yeah,
and he nailed it.
I practiced the entire way down. Maybe it's a prerequisite to enter the transfer portal to have good feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be a correlation.
You think it makes it easier to get into the portal with good feet.
And your way out.
Well, as long as you know how to get into the portal. Like, you can't just portal and be in the portal.
Well, with where Eddie found the portal, it may be more about swimming. I mean, you made her do more water training.
Yeah, it was in Scottsdale. I'm sure that Kyler Murray will be looking for it when he has to buy a house out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so March 7th, spring football gets ready to go. We'll have more and more as we get going. Bob has been kind of previewing a lot of people over the last few weeks. But Lincoln Riley will have his first pre-spring press conference on March 6th, which I like. So the day before they start practicing. Then we'll be able to go out there and get some photos and stuff on the 7th. So I would say media schedule is fair. I mean, it's like about like it's always been. And then you got Pro Day coming up on the 13th. So there's a lot of stuff getting ready to happen in our world. It's getting ready to ramp up. And like we said, the podcast only getting bigger and better. Coverage only getting bigger and better. So we appreciate everybody being a part of it, listening to the podcast. And guys, any other business that you wanted to get to before we get out of here today?
Not off the top of my head. There is something running around now on Twitter that, and this is the kind of content that I love. You can take all your heights and weights from the NFL Combine, but somebody has spotted on Josh Rosen's Instagram account. He has now deleted all Cardinals-related Instagram posts.
In this day and age?
Which is awesome.
Kyler Murray to the Cardinals.
You Daily, you better get on that.
Oh, my God. 3, 2, 1, and the countdown begins. It'll be up in the next 15 minutes. I guarantee you, somebody asked me on the board, it's 12:15. By 12:30, that story will be written.
Mm-hmm. But remember, I said it at 12:15, even if this doesn't come out in time. So
shit, I better check. It might already be up.
I mean, this is that perfect, storm where Kyler's not going to work out. Like you guys said, did Arizona offer him assurances? Is that why Josh Rosen deletes all Arizona stuff from his account? Well,
not to mention just all the connections that Cliff Kingsbury now has back to Kyler Murray, plus their agent who they share. He doesn't have to worry about Johnny Manziel anymore because he's been kicked out of the Canadian Football League.
Oh my God!
So he can put all of his focus into
maybe Johnny Manziel is Bob Stoops' first quarterback in Dallas.
I thought about that, but didn't McMahon put out and it's probably bullshit, but didn't he put out something that said we're not going to have any felonies? If you've been arrested, you can't play in our league. Which
I can't
believe. You're going to take
that
stance on a third tier professional league. I mean. You're not going to have too many players.
I think it might whittle down to me. I think I might have a shot in the XFL. I'm getting kind of excited now that I know this. I'm starting training. I'm going to work on my footwork. I got to go, guys.
Stoops' pick is going to be between Josh, Johnny Manziel, Landry Jones, and Colin Kaepernick. What's your thoughts on the national anthem, Josh? I've always been on record saying it's overrated and they should stop playing it at sporting events. But
is it bad to admit that if I'm watching a television event and they're going to show the national anthem that I turn the channel just so I don't have to pretend to be patriotic off of TV?
No, because it's either sung really poorly or Andy Katz's daughter sings it. She sings like every college game that I've seen this year. Have you noticed
Andy
that?
Katz's
no,
daughter?
I've no idea.
Not Andy Katz, Adam Schefter's daughter.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She's literally sang at almost every NBA arena this year.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Is she good?
I mean, she's not bad. She's like 12 or something. She's not a bad singer by any means.
I just want it out there for the record. I stand their national anthem on television as well. Hand over the heart.
Really? If it's on television, you stand up.
Have the hat off.
That is ridiculous.
We are blowing that up.
That is a lie.
A quote graphic. We are putting that up.
See, I turned the channel so I don't have to make that choice. It's too much pressure. I'm at home by myself.
I turn because I'm so sick of people putting their own spin on it.
I want to be patriotic and I want to be responsible. But I just don't want that pressure, to have to sit through that and, maybe I'd nod off or something. I don't want to be. I don't put myself in that position.
Is it wrong if I'm making food and the anthem is playing on TV? And do I have to stop making?
Yeah, and if people find out, do we lose 1,000 subscribers on SoonerScoop in protest?
Probably lose 1,000 subscribers just for this conversation alone.
Stand up. If the game is not on, I'm turning the channel. Anything else is. I do not care.
By the way, Nike. It was reported that Nike had record profits year over year. Today.
It's gonna be very hard to beat for the best story of the year. The guy in Colorado Springs that now has to close his sporting goods store because they dropped Nike,
and then nobody wanted to shop at his store.
You moron! You deserve.
It just goes to show you the outrage, the online outrage. It's so fake.
I think we've seen a lot of it through this week, through the combine stuff. Just people with opinions that don't really matter.
Those people that hated Nike were never buying Nike in the first place. They probably hadn't bought clothes in 20 years.
Yeah, that's true, too.
They just wear the same old shit.
Hey, their champion sweatshirt, it looks kind of rustic now with all the lettering.
No, champion is too good. It was definitely Russell.
Russell.
Oh, see, you're grinding that axe over that bowl. You gotta let that bowl go.
What was the Target brand? Because I had some of that stuff.
Umbro?
No, it was.
I rocked Umbro.
Yeah, I think I had some
Umbro back in the day. You won't remember. Nobody remembers it. It was just awful.
Oh yeah, I can see the low. I can see it.
It looks kind of like a champion, but it's not. It's like a C. I don't.
Yep, you're exactly right, Kerry. Damn. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Oh, hey, I did before we get out of here. The Wednesday of Oklahoma went up at about 12:15 this morning, so we're about 16 minutes late on that. But there's some pretty big news in there. There is a top 10 national player in the country that has set up his official visit to Oklahoma for the spring game. I'm not quite ready to give that out. I'll give the other one. An offensive tackle, Jimmy, I'm going to guess it's Christ and not Christ, but, you do you at home.
Why do you
Jimmy Christ, a Rivals 250 offensive tackle from Virginia, he has also set his official visit for the spring game. So more and more, it looks like Bill Bedenbaugh is about to put together another really, really good offensive line class.
Very interesting.
So, yeah. And that spring game, Bob, I think it's fair to say it's starting to look like it may be even better than last year as far as the people who will be on campus.
For sure. Not sure if we'll get as many commits.
Yeah,
but
I think that's fair.
But I think the names are going to be just as top tier as what we saw last year.
Let me ask you something.
There's no possible way the weather can be any worse than it was last year, too.
God.
So I think that's good news.
Like, we haven't been like in the 60s, but like
I
once
I would take rain
once
over
every 30
the
days.
45-mile-an-hour wind that was last year. That was insane.
I just hope that if they can't do better than Trace Adkins, that they just scrap the concert.
You think they're still going to do that?
I haven't heard anything. That was one thing I didn't talk to Joe about.
Had we heard?
I was about to ask. Did that come up
from a year ago to this time? Had we heard had that been announced yet?
Well, what we had heard, they were going to do really cool things.
Yeah,
and we can kind of phrase it that way. Wednesday with Lincoln. What are some of your ideas for the
what did you learn from last year, and how do you want to do it this year?
Put them on the spot.
But I don't think anybody was any. I'll say this, and Lincoln would probably deny this. I don't think anybody was happy in the athletic department that it was a minor country star like that.
What was so weird about it is
it didn't do anything to benefit their recruiting.
Trace is playing, and then Eddie's in the practice field.
Yeah,
right?
They're warming up on the practice field over there
with the rap music. The usual.
Yeah, they can't even hear the concert.
Usually, the hype music.
It was a fan-driven event. There's no doubt about that.
I just Googled it, and it looks like it was March 27th when they officially announced Trace Adkins last year.
Okay, so
it was only a couple weeks.
More than a month.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be Kansas this year or something. Dust in the wind. Maybe
it would be better.
Sticks.
And this comes from a guy who saw Brooks and Dunn last night, so
Oh my God!
I thought that they
were they at the Houston
Josh.
Rodeo?
They were. And I thought, I was like, oh, it's Brooks and Dunn. It'll be pretty. There were 50,000 people plus.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was packed.
That looked. I saw the Casey Musgraves pictures. That place looks nuts. I mean, where is that? Where is that?
It's at NRG. It's where the Texans play. They do it in the stadium. And I remember the first year I went, I was like, we're going to the rodeo? What the hell? It's fun. It's really like they run through it. You get about 2 hours where, they'll do barrel racing and they'll do bull riding and they'll do bareback ride. It's fun, it's a real rodeo event. And then at the end they have a concert, like our buddies Kings will be there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you're just rubbing it in basically because we all got invited, but the only one that could go is you. Yeah, because we got pro day.
My sister will be there. She's on the she's on the rodeo committee. No big deal.
Oh, NBD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking I needed an in to start, working my way up the Houston food chain. So
there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Noted.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. We'll be back again next week as we get ready for spring football, but that'll do it for February. Appreciate everybody out there listening. Go check out the site, SoonerScoop.com. Would love for you to subscribe. Would love for you guys to continue to support Coop Aleworks, CoopAleworks.com, and the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. Just go check them out at ChoctawCasinos.com. So for Kerry Murdoch, for Eddie Radosevich, for Josh McCuistion, for Bob Brisbillo, I am Kerry Murdoch. We'll see you guys back here next week on another edition of the Choctaw Casino Resort Unofficial 40.